We're done with Mystery Unsolved for just a little bit, and I'm going to focus on my second series here, Mystery Ghost Stories. And as I said last week at the end of the last video for Mystery Unsolved, this series for Mystery Ghost Stories, a lot of good episodes. We're going to start off with a really good one. You may know the location, but you don't know its history, or at least you think you do. I am, of course, referring to the Hollywood sign, and this episode is entitled The Ghost at the Hollywood Sign. First and foremost, we're going to treat this a little bit different. There's no theories here. This is pretty much me telling you a straight up ghost story about something that probably legitimately happens. We could theorize, but we ain't going to do that. So it's just me telling you a straight story, me giving you my opinions, and so forth. Kind of like I did in the first season of Mystery Ghost Stories. But it's been a while, so you may not remember. Without further ado, Mystery Ghost Stories, The Ghost at the Hollywood Sign. So, I have two articles here. I'm going to start with the second one. Is the Hollywood Sign haunted? The world-famous landmark represents the larger-than-life glitz and glamour that goes along with the movie magic. But it also has tragedy tied in its reputation. The tragedy dates all the way back to the 1930s. So if this ghost is still there, she's been there for a long time. Who was Peg Entwistle? Peg Entwistle went to Hollywood like so many hopeful young actresses at the time, with dreams to make it big in pictures, but for her, it was not to be. We'll never know if her career would have taken off or not, because she ended it on her own terms after she was almost completely cut from the film 13 Women. The reason for this was to keep the film more wholesome, because she played a lesbian, which was controversial at that time. Okay, let's. I didn't think I was going to take a break in this, but let's take a break here. Let's pump the brakes here. Nothing ghost like right now. But she was supposed to star in this movie, and pretty much her entire part in the movie was cut. Because in the 1930s, playing a lesbian, can you imagine? This was before the 1950s. I always joke, can you imagine them airing the commercials of today back in the 1950s? You'd have women passing out left and right. So this woman played a lesbian in a movie from the 30s. Just a little side note, just throwing that in there. That's pretty controversial. She had thought the role would be her big break and led to bigger and better things. But not after that setback. She never recovered. Despite being an actress on Broadway in the years before her trek was wet. Sorry, some of the words just... Despite being an actress on Broadway in the years before her trek out west. There we go. After that film, she, along with several other actresses, were cut out of their contracts. So basically, she's a young up-and-coming actress. She wants to make it big. She has some bit parts in Broadway, but she's not really satisfied with that. And this is worth noting because, nowadays, people are very happy with Broadway. Because Broadway, throughout the years, it's always big. A lot of people, it's not for everyone. You either like Broadway or you don't, Before 13 Women was ever released, Peg ended it all. She left her home that she shared with her uncle on the night of September 16th, 1932, and he never saw her alive again. Peg walked from her home to the Hollywood sign, balanced on a rickety maintenance ladder to reach the top of the letter H before leaping off of it. It's true. It really happened. Her specific reasons and afflictions will never truly be known, but it is suspected that she was drunk that night. Combine that with her apparent depression, and it proved to be a deadly combination. She was found the next day by a female hiker, along with her suicide note, which read, "I am afraid I am a coward. I am sorry for everything I have done this a long time ago. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved me a lot of pain. P.E. Since it was only signed with her initials, it took 2 days before her uncle came to identify her. Newspaper stories were written about her heartbreaking death, and it was the story about an unknown woman jumping off the sign that caught her uncle's eye because she had been fascinated by the sign while alive. So, the first thought before I read that last line, I just kind of figured like maybe because she was a young up and coming actress who she wasn't satisfied with Broadway. She wasn't going to become a big time actress and she was depressed about it. So I just figured she'd be like, oh, I'm going to go to the Hollywood sign, which represents all the glitz and glamour that is movies in Hollywood, and end it all. But no, she's actually, I mean, maybe that is it, but she was fascinated by the sign. So maybe because she loved the sign so much, she decided, you know what, I'm going to end it not only on my own terms, but on a place that I appreciate. Now we're going to get into the good stuff, the reason we are here. So, before we do, though, I'm just going to go back. I'm going to go to the first article and we're going to find out a little bit more about Peg and Twistle before I get you to the good stuff. All right, we got a little bit more information about her death. So, okay. On September 18th, 1932, a woman was hiking below the Hollywood sign when she found a woman's shoe, purse, and jacket. She opened the purse and found a suicide note, after which she looked down at the mountain and saw the body below. The woman reported her findings to the Los Angeles police and laid the items on the steps of the Hollywood police station. Later, a detective and two radio car officers found the body in a ravine below the sign. Entwistle remained unidentified until her uncle, with whom she had been living in the Beechwood Canyon area, identified her remains. He connected her 2 day absence with a description in the initials PE written on the note, which was published in the newspapers. He said that on February. He said that on September. Why? Why do I struggle reading sometimes? I don't know. He said that on Friday, September 16th, because it's not written straight. She had told him she was going for a walk to the drugstore and to see some friends. The police surmised that instead she made her way to the nearby southern slope of Mount Lee to the foot of the Hollywood land sign, climbed a workman's ladder to the top of the H, and jumped. It is worth noting that at the time that she jumped, Hollywood, the sign, it said Hollywood Land. I'm not going to get into the details of why land is not there anymore. It's not important, but it's just worth noting here that it was Hollywood Land when she jumped. The cause of death was listed by the coroner as multiple fractures of the pelvis. Entwistle's death brought wide and often sensationalized publicity. Her funeral was held at the W.M. Strathers mortuary in Hollywood on September 20th. This is why I can't read sometimes, because they just write it in such a way. Her body was cremated, and the ashes were later sent to Glendale, Ohio, for burial next to her father in Oak Hill Cemetery, where they were interred on January 5th, 1933. In 2014, roughly 100 people marked the anniversary of Entwistle's death by gathering in the parking lot of the Beechwood Market in Hollywood to watch 13 women on an outdoor screen. Oh, that's nice. Proceeds from a raffle and from the food and beverages sold at the screening were donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Entwistle's name. Oh, that's really nice. Like, look at that. Like, almost 100 years later, and the reason she killed herself is because she figured she wasn't really going to make it. She was depressed, and she was going to get her big break. And 100 years later, people are like, you know what? You did matter. All right. There is a popular culture here. There's also portrayal. No, we're going to skip that. We're going to save the in popular culture for a moment. Let's get to the good stuff, shall we? The reason we're here. It's mystery ghost stories for a reason. There have been many sightings of Peg since her death. Gardenia perfume was a favorite of hers, so you will often witness ghostly happenings with a hint of gardenias in the air. Joggers, hikers, park rangers, and trespassers have all witnessed Peg. She is always dressed in 1930s clothing, with a sad or confused expression, walking on the path or floating on the hill, and often accompanied by her favorite scent. According to the park ranger John Arbogast, he's seen her several times late at night when conditions are foggy. It seems that she has never fully escaped the area that killed her dream. The age that she jumped from even fell over in 1949 and needed to be fixed. Could it have had something to do with her as well? So, one thing that I had read before I came on was they've done a lot of maintenance to the Hollywood sign, and each letter I think is actually like donated by a certain person. One of the letters was actually donated by Alice Cooper. The Alice Cooper, yeah. Weird, right? Another one was donated by Andy Williams. Another one, Hugh Hefner donated to, contributed. It's really weird, but we're not here for that. But if you're excited to learn more about the classic Hollywood ghost stories, oh, okay, let's do that. All right. So people have seen her many times since her death in the 30s. Popular culture, and then I'll get back to the ghost stuff. Hollywood Girl, the Peg and Twistle story, is a short film based on the last day of Peg and Twistle's life. Dory Purvin sang about Entwistle in the song Mary C. Brown and the Hollywood Sign on her 1972 album of the same name. Jacko Jack's song Damn This Town from his 1995 album Mustard Gas and Roses mentions Entwistle and her suicide. In 2015, French songwriter and musician Benoit Clerc composed and released Peg est mon nom, Peg is my name, a ballad sung by Camille Salliant. The song imagines Peg Entwistle standing atop the big white letter H, and she wonders whether she will be remembered after her death. The season 11 episode of Ghost Adventures entitled Haunted Hollywood included a segment that investigated the Hollywood sign and talked about Entwistle's death. The song Lust for Life by Lana Del Rey references the suicide of Entwistle. The song includes lyrics such as Climb Up to the Age of the Hollywood Sign, and in the music video for the song, Del Rey and The Weeknd are seen dancing on top of the age of the Hollywood sign. I don't think I've ever heard that song or seen that video. That's really interesting. In 2006, Gidget Gein created a watercolor portrait of Peg Entwistle. Gein, who was the co-founder and bassist of the rock band Marilyn Manson, had his Entwistle portrait displayed in 2004 in Hollywood. The exhibit was titled Gollywood. Some have speculated that 1977 Steely Dan recording Peg is about Entwistle. However, in 2000, during a question and answer session with fans, the band said the song was written about a real person, but not Entwistle. In 2020, Steely Dan co-founder Donald Fagen said, "There's no hidden meaning. We just wanted a dotted half note for that spot, and Peg was short enough to fit with the." I don't know what that means. Ryan Murphy's 2020 miniseries Hollywood revolves around the fictional production of a film titled Meg about Entwistle's acting career and suicide. So there's a couple more, but basically you get the idea. Let's go to Vanity Fair's website, because apparently they too have something. Hopefully it's not the same thing. Meg Santos was jogging with her usual path on Griffith Trails high above Los Angeles on a night late last year. When she started to sneeze, she was overcome by what she described as a weird feeling and the overwhelming scent of gardenias. The shivers were nothing compared to what came next. And then there was this woman with blonde hair, and she seemed to be like walking on air, Santos told Vanity Fair Hollywood recently. I immediately ran the other way. That woman, if you believe the stories, was Peg Entwistle, or rather, the ghost of Peg Entwistle, an early film starlet who leapt 45 feet to her death from the Hollywood sign in 1932, and who some say has haunted the famous landmark ever since. She was really pretty. I'd show you the picture, but you know how the quality goes when you show screen to screen. All right, we know that. We know that too. The ghost stories first appeared in the 1940s after the same H from which Entwistle jumped mysteriously toppled over, fueling the rumors that her ghost haunted the landmark. Nearly half a century later, in 1990, a young couple hiking the Griffith Park trails stopped dead in their tracks when a disoriented blonde woman dressed in 1930s clothing vanished before their eyes. Apparently, the couple was completely unaware of Entwistle's suicide. I like to note something caught my eye here. Um, the ghost stories first appeared in the 1940s after the same name H, after the same age from which Entwistle jumped mysteriously toppled. Okay, they said the 1940s, but remember it was 1949. So if the H fell before 1949, that's weird. That's probably her. Like if it happened once, you can be like, is that Peg Entwistle that did that? Is it a coincidence? Is it something else? We're not really speculating or theorizing here. I'm just throwing that out there. Throughout the years, many Griffith Park rangers have claimed to see the ghost of the Hollywood sign, especially on a foggy night. Remember the first park ranger said during a foggy night he saw it? According to legend, the ghost is typically accompanied by the same smell of gardenias jogger Megan Santos said overcame her. It is reportedly the scent of Entwistle's favorite perfume, which we know. The ghost story has gotten nods all over popular culture, which we know. Very interesting. Let me try to find one more. Just want to see if I can flip. I'm not gonna go to YouTube. We're not doing that. Oh crap. And my phone just stopped. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, that's not good. Let's try to find one more good article here. I apologize that I didn't have that one up. I just figured we'd find some good ones. All right. Basically, it's the same thing. Okay. So, I definitely think that Peg Entwistle haunts the Hollywood sign because who, how else can you explain a blonde woman being near the Hollywood sign and it's being a ghost? You know, she's the only person to ever commit suicide that we know of from the Hollywood sign. So it's got to be her. And because she committed suicide, does she know she's dead? And if she does, Or if she doesn't, it's kind of sad because then you think to yourself, well, maybe she's jumping from the age every single time. Maybe she's a residual haunting. And wouldn't that be just tragically sad? Imagine just doing the same thing. Like, why do I keep doing this? And you don't know. So I hope I enlightened some of you and you found out and learned something about the Hollywood sign that you didn't know yesterday or 30 minutes before or 20 in this sense. Um, so yeah, I wanted to start off with this episode particularly because it's the Hollywood sign, and I feel like a lot of people don't know about it. So, and also it's sad, but it's also it's a little creepy. I didn't know you could visit the Hollywood sign. From what I remember, I watched a show and people were trying to break in through the fence. There's like it's fenced off, so you can't go in. And I think they got over the fence. They broke into the fence and then they ended up turning all the way back because they came across the ghost of Peg Entwistle. But that might have been a reenactment, so that too. But that still happened. Do stay tuned for the next episode of Mystery Ghost Stories next Friday, where I will be talking about the Gridley Tunnel. What is that? You'll have to find out next week. For Mystery Ghost Stories, this is Justin the Infinite. Have a